Hello everyone, this is John Knabel from Milwaukee SEO Company. Thank you for tuning into our first video screencast podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how to design a fantastic Twitter page. So what you're going to need is GIMP or Photoshop. We're using GIMP, which is a free program that you can download from GIMP.org. I'm just going to use that to show you some things, but you can also use Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. And of course, you're going to need your own Twitter page. We're going to start by talking about some of the design considerations that you might want to be thinking about, and then we're going to be talking about some of the math. There's a unique mathematical process it's not that complicated, but to creating a Twitter background image, and it's not something you have to worry about with other social networks, but you do for Twitter. So let's talk about some of the different components of a Twitter page. You've got a Twitter profile image. You've got the header image right here, and the background image, which spans the entire page. The most important image is your profile image, because it's what people see even when they're not on your page. It's what people are going to come to associate with you and how they're going to identify you quickly. So you want to spend some time on making this great, and you want to keep it the same for as long as possible without changing it if you can. Usually you want to use just an image of your face, close up, clean, good lighting with a nice monotone background. Even this with the field is okay, but I would generally suggest maybe just one color, an orange or a white. But these are some nice ones with great lighting and they're close up, so those are some good examples. Now if it's a brand, you could also use simply the brand's logo for the profile image. In our case, that's what we did. The header image is something that you can change very quickly and easily, and it's actually, you can crop it while you're uploading it, so you don't even have to have the dimensions perfect when you're uploading it. In our case, we wanted to just show some of the photography of the client, and we'll probably be changing this out regularly to keep the account fresh and to show people some new interesting stuff. The cool thing about the header image is that, let's just say I'm looking at Party Plus and I think their tweet is really interesting. I can click their name, see some of their other tweets that I want to learn more about, and there's their header image, or at least where it would be if they had one. So people are going to see this even when they're not on your page. That's different from the background image, which they're only going to see when they're actually on your page. So I could like to think of it as a way of rewarding people who take the step to come all the way there, and possibly a way to keep people coming back. Just if it's such a great background image, they might want to come back and see it again, or if you want to change it up and people know that you're changing it regularly, then they'll come back to see what else you're doing with it. So what we did was we created an overall background image, which you can't see the entire thing, but that's there, and then we created some sidebar film strips and inserted some of the client's photography in there. And we still have this file as an Illustrator file, so we can go back and we can change out new images and re-upload the entire image to keep the account fresh. Now I'd like to share some ideas with you for some different kinds of combinations that you can do. Ryan Seacrest created a header image with the profile image right in the middle. That's one thing you can do, very simple, very cool. This is the similar concept, but a little sillier. He uses his face over the top of one of the three amigos. And over here we've got a left sidebar where he's putting his website URL and his name, some more information about him. We're not going to be getting into using left sidebars in this video, but that's coming. Especially if you request it, we'll make sure it'll happen sooner than later. For a background image, you can do something very simple, like a single background image. This is more complicated, and in our case, this is also more complicated, having these sidebars. The reason why it's complicated is because it's going to look different in different screen sizes. So I'm going to explain that shortly. Before I get into that, I want to talk about some of the design considerations that we had when we were making this. We wanted to create some contrast between areas of the page. So we got lucky with a client who was able to provide great photography, so we just had to choose photos that we thought worked together well. You'll notice that the background image has some blue in it, and we're also seeing a lot of that in a lot of these side photos. So we wanted to keep some color consistency, and we also wanted to contrast the dark sides of the page from the top and the sides to a more light area, and sharper images with out of focus image in the background, as well as this is also out of focus right here, the foreground of this image in the header. We also have some contrast between color and black and white, and a lot going on the sides and top, and very little in the center toward the bottom. This is my favorite area of the page at this screen size, because when you're down here it becomes quite refreshing and you can focus on reading the tweets. The sky's the limit for the creativity that you can have in creating a page, so get thinking. But what we're going to cover today is some of the math that goes into creating a background image and how a page can look different in different screen sizes. So let's do that. First, let me show you some of the ways that this profile looks in some different screen sizes. This is the same screen size that you saw before, 1366 by 768, which is the most common, or at least in January of 2012, it was the most common screen size on the market. If we want to go down a little bit to perhaps the smallest screen size on the market at that time, you see that the sidebars are getting cut off. It's not a big deal in this case. It creates a little intrigue. Perhaps they'll come back and look at it in a different screen size later. But when you look at it at the largest common screen size at that time, you can see that the sidebars are still intact, and you're seeing more of the image. In fact, you're seeing more images in this film strip as well. So let's take a look at some of the different screen sizes that we have. Now, this is a great site to come refer to when you're creating a Twitter background image. w3schools.com, they're a very trusted source of information. Just Google browser display statistics W3 Schools, and they update this every year. Hopefully they'll be coming out with January 2013 soon, but for now we have to go by a year ago, which is indicating that 13% of screen sizes were 1024 by 768. So again, the reason why I use this resource is it allows me to see what the common screen sizes are so that I can optimize my Twitter page for the majority. And so we really don't have to worry about optimizing it for smaller screen sizes because it's basically non-existent who's using those anymore. 85% of people are using a larger screen size than this. So let's click that, and you can see that almost 19% of screen sizes are 1366 by 768. That's a 15-inch laptop or monitor. And I'll do the math for you. It is about 35 to 40% of screen sizes are larger than this, and the same number are smaller than this. Probably a few more were larger than this in 2012 of January, but you got to remember that that was 12 months ago, and so screen sizes are getting bigger and bigger if you're not counting smartphones, and so the average screen size is going to be even larger. So we want to more generally cater to this screen size and larger, but we also want to cater to a few sizes smaller because, as you'll see, 1280 by 1024 has 11% of viewers. So you want to be aware of that. So I created a document in GIMP that's going to show you. In GIMP, I'm showing that we created the overall image, the big large image of the champagne and the blue and the white that you're seeing right here. That is 1920 by 1200, which is the largest common screen size. Again, or at least as was in January of 2012. So we created that image that size, and then you'll look at this gray area right here is the size of the inner Twitter area, which you'll see right here. That's from here to here. That's 866 pixels wide, and that's static. That never changes no matter what screen size you're looking at. Before I move forward, I need to explain that we centered this image, which is an option that you have in the settings on the design tab. So when you go to the gear and click settings and go to design, then you'll be able to upload your background image, and you can set the position from left or center or right. Now the default position is left, so you need to center it, and we'll be showing you some of the other options here as well. Before I move on, you can go to the profile. That tab allows you to change the profile image and the header. And so going back to GIMP, let me minimize that. The inner area is right here. So we're going to want to create the sidebars somewhere to the left and right of that. But these other areas show you some other screen sizes. So the white area shows you 1366 by 768, which is the most common screen size. And this one is the next size below that, and this one is about the smallest common screen size. So if I create the sidebars here, you're going to see the full sidebar at 1366 by 768 and any size larger. And you're just going to have a little more space if it's larger on the sides, which is nice. But if you see it at the 1280 by 768, it's going to be slightly cut off. And if you see it at the small size, it's going to be mostly cut off, which is what we're seeing in Quirk Tools down here when we go to the 12-inch notebook. There you go. So it's great to be aware of that when you're designing. And I'm not going to do the math for you exactly, but if you want to create a document in Photoshop, you can just simply create your document at 1920 by 1200, create an area that's 866 wide and put it right in the middle, and then design your sidebars on the side, and then you can remove this area later. Now again, if you weren't going to have any sidebars at all and you were just going to have a single image, I would suggest creating an image that is 1920 by 1200, and then simply it should be such an image that most of the interesting parts of the image are in this area right here. And you're going to see what a page will actually look like if the screen size is larger than the image. It gets cut off. And so if you were going to create an image that was smaller than that, there would be more screen sizes in which you would be seeing it cut off than in this case. But in this case, hopefully there will be few to none who will see your page with a cutoff image. So now that we have the math out of the way, I'm just going to finish by talking a little bit about two more options that you can do with your page. One is the overlay, which you can change from white to black. And the other is the link color. And that is what governs this color right here, the color of these links, of these buttons right here. And I'm going to actually change this to a little bit of a brighter color. And what I'm using for this is Google Web Developer. It's a plugin you can get from the Chrome store. And I'm going to click Display Color Picker. You might be able to get this in other browsers with other extensions. And basically I can click anywhere on the image, and I'm going to select right there and grab the HTML notation and then go over here and paste it in. And there it is. That's a little bit of a brighter color. Now I could also just click this and click something else and click done, and it's gonna choose the color for me. But in my case, I wanted to do that way. I want to have consistency in the design of the entire page. So let's see what it looks like now. There. It's not much of a difference, but I do think that I like that better, and I'm going to keep that. So this was designing a profile page for Twitter. Thank you for watching, and please email me if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, or if you want to add anything to how you can create a great Twitter profile page. Again, we're going to be talking about how to create a left sidebar in another video, so stay tuned for that. But you can comment on the website or email me at jon@milwaukeeseocompany.com. So again, thank you for watching. Take care.